Congressman Peter DeFazio is with us. Congressman.
Hey,
I thought I was going to have to wait a couple minutes before you showed up. Great to have you with us. Okay, before we get to the CBO thing, you and Senator Bernie Sanders, Barbara Boxer, and Sheldon Whitehouse, just if my information is correct, just held a press conference to announce legislation to safeguard Social Security. Do I have that right?
That's correct.
We're actually, what we proposed, pretty simple, and it's actually based on something that candidate Obama proposed, which is to have people who earn over $250,000 a year pay a Social Security tax on that income. It would mean they would pay basically the same percent, a little bit smaller than the same percent as people who earn less than $106,800, because income between $106,800 and $250,000 is exempt.
Right.
But it's the easiest and most equitable way to fix the Social Security.
So let me get this straight.
People to pay Social Security on all their income.
You're going to ask Jamie Dimon, the head of J.P. Morgan. You're going to ask...
He's a job creator, isn't he?
Right. You're going to ask Lloyd Blankfein, the CEO of Goldman Sachs. You're going to ask Jeffrey Immelt, the CEO of General Electric. You're going to ask Warren Buffett. You're going to ask George Soros. You're going to ask the 10 hedge fund managers who make $2 billion a year each over on Wall Street. You're going to ask all of them to pay the exact same percentage of their income in Social Security taxes, or actually a slightly lower, but pretty much the exact same percentage of their income in Social Security taxes as their janitors and secretaries. My God, sir, what have you been thinking?
Yeah, I know. I mean, those job creators, just think of how many jobs that's going to cost us if those people have to pay that rate of tax. It would raise their average tax rate from somewhere at 8.8 to about 24%. Another 5%, and they'll be paying almost as much of their income in taxes as an Army captain just returned from Afghanistan. Who is more important to the future of the country, the Army captain or the hedge fund speculator?
Yeah, or a family where the husband's a cop and the wife's a teacher. They'll still be paying more taxes than any of those CEOs and hedge fund managers that I just named.
Absolutely.
This is something that a lot of people, particularly listening to this program, I've been harping on this for years. It's a chapter in my book, Rebooting the American Dream, that are very familiar with and don't need a lot of preaching on. What are the chances of it happening?
Bernie and I actually proposed this to the Deficit Reduction Commission last year. Mm-hmm. We said, if you're actually having discussions about the future of Social Security and you want to deal with the problem that 26 years from now Social Security will only be able to pay 75% of benefits, that's a problem, but not a crisis and not contributing to the deficit. But if you are going to address it, here's a fair way to do it. Never heard back. I expect we will bring it to the attention of the new Super Congress. If they're going to have any discussions about Social Security,
right.
We'll urge them to look at this as a solution. Then they can say, oh, that's problem solved. Now let's move on to real problems.
Good. So are you proposing this as a House resolution and a Senate bill?
I introduced my bill earlier this year, yeah.
So this is basically legislation in both the House and Senate that people can support. They can contact their members of Congress, their two senators, and their member of the House of Representatives right now. Go to callcongress.org. There's toll-free numbers as well as the main number there to Congress. And simply, if you're not sure who represents you, just give me your zip code. They'll connect you right to the office and just say, please support this legislation that will save Social Security that's sponsored in the Senate by Senators Boxers, Sanders, and Whitehouse, and in the House of Representatives by Congressman Peter DeFazio. Do I have that right?
That would be great, Tom.
Okay.
We really appreciate folks helping us get a little visibility for this issue.
Great.
Don't have to increase the age. Don't have to cut benefits. Don't have to privatize it. Just make it secure for all Americans for as far as anybody can project.
Right. None of this nonsense about a change CPA and all this. Okay. Now that said, you're also very active in infrastructure in that whole issue. And this is another issue that's before the Gang of 12, as I refer to them, and the Super Congress. And in Congress in general, it's part of the president's, pass the bill now, American Jobs Act. Your thoughts on what's going on in that regard and what you're up to?
Well, the same day the president gave that speech, the Republicans in the House proposed cutting investment in our crumbling 20th century and 19th century infrastructure by 35%.
You're kidding?
No, they passed it out of the Appropriations Subcommittee. So the Republicans...
Why was that not the lead headline on NBC News?
I don't know. But, and then Eric Cantor came out yesterday and said, as was very predictable, hey, we'll take the tax cuts, we'll take the job-killing trade agreements, but investment? No, we're not doing any of that horrible stimulus stuff. It failed us. We're not going to rebuild our infrastructure. I mean, come on, buddy. The only thing that produced real jobs, we saved public sector jobs by sending the states a bunch of money during the stimulus, but the central focus, more than 40% of the jobs were created by the 7% of spending that was in that bill for infrastructure, and it's all committed and or spent already, and yet we have massive nationwide deficit in infrastructure.
Right,
we can't even repair a 20th century infrastructure and bring it up to a state of good repair, and the Chinese and our other competitors are building an outstanding 21st century infrastructure, high speed, things that consume less fuel, mitigate congestion, get goods to market faster. We need to do that or we become a backwater.
Maybe you should put together a piece of legislation called the Horse and Buggy Whip Bill, that proposes that since our roads are all falling apart, that we subsidize the manufacture of carriages and raising of horses and the manufacture of buggy whips to prepare for the 21st century that the Republicans are bringing us into.
Actually, I had an example of this on Sunday. I was on a ride called Cycle Oregon, and they were riding on a road that had previously been all paved, county road, and there were sections that deteriorated. They didn't have the money to repave it, so what counties all across America are doing is they get rid of all the pavement in those sections because that would make it too rough, and they put down a nice gravel road and roll it.
Right.
Just kind of like the way we did things in the 19th century. So.
Right. The 18th century, for that matter.
Yeah, right. So we have seen the future on that ride. I gave that speech to the folks at the ride on Sunday night, and I was talking about investing in infrastructure, putting people back to work, and they're like, yes.
Yeah, horse and buggy whip.
Are there? They want it.
Horse and buggy whip legislation.
That would be actually the Eric Cantor bill.
Yeah, I was going to say we need Rand Paul to introduce that in the Senate.
Right,
It's the guy who denies that poverty is happening in America, or if it is, it's just bad people. Right?
Yeah.
It's just
they should just work harder, and if they didn't have Social Security, they would work harder, and then they wouldn't be poor.
That's right. At the age of 80, they could be laying bricks.
Yeah.
Hey,
I mean, just think of all the productivity we could get.
Yeah, they could. There's a lot of them are Walmart greeters right now, which is kind of scary. But okay, Congressman Peter DeFazio, and this is. You have several members of the Senate here. Is the House Progressive Caucus? I'm assuming that they're all on board with this. Jan Schakowsky and the whole bunch.
I would expect so. I haven't looked at the list. There's another bill similar to mine, and I'll be checking on them.
Okay. Well, keep us up to date. You always have an open door here and on our TV show anytime. Congressman Peter DeFazio, U.S. Congressman from the 4th District of Oregon. His website, DeFazio, DeFazio.house.gov.